Maybe we meet this week. The words hang in the air like a promise I am trying not to break, and already they have rearranged the geometry of my days. I find myself measuring each hour against that possibility, counting the moments until I can see you again, as if the calendar itself were a map leading me back to something true. There is a nervous joy in the thought, not the reckless, storming kind, but the patient, fierce sort that settles into the chest and makes ordinary tasks feel like preparation. Even the smallest chore becomes an offering, polishing the silver, signing a document, answering a diplomat. Everything done with the furtive hope that I will finish and hurry to you. If we do meet this week, I want it to be ours in the quietest way. No gilded announcements, no watching eyes. Just a corner of the palace where the light falls kindly, and the world cannot audition itself for drama. I imagine you there already. The way you sit when you think, the little motion of your hand that betrays a story you want to tell. I want to be near enough to hear the quick, delicious details, the absurdity that made you laugh today, the small victory you kept to yourself, the tiny irritation with a merchant who mistreated a child. Those are the things that matter to me most. They are the steady bricks of the life I am impatient to build with you. There will be plans to rearrange in my head between now and then, not political strategies or grand gestures, but the quiet logistics of being present in the right spirit. I will practice patience in the mornings and tenderness in the evenings, trying to distill myself into the clearest version I can be for the hour we share. I want to arrive with no armor more complicated than the truth, with hands uncollused by pretense and a voice that does not perform for the court. If you give me 5 minutes, I will give you my full attention. If you give me an afternoon, I will fill it with the little attentions that keep love steady in the long years. I know how quickly the palace can turn private meetings into public pageants, and that thought makes me careful, even fierce, in protecting whatever small moment we carve out. I will choose the path that keeps you safe from idle curiosity, a hallway that is less trafficked, a room that holds warmth but not an audience. Yet I will not hide you as if you were something shameful to be concealed. You are not a whisper to be swallowed, you are the sentence I want to speak aloud. The balance is delicate, and I am learning its contours. How to be visible enough to honor you and discreet enough to keep our intimacy from being bartered away by rumor. There is a tenderness beneath my impatience that surprises even me. I imagine the hush when we finally sit, the way your eyes might search mine and find the openness I have tried to keep for you. I think of the things I will say, not proclamations, but confessions of small gratitude, for the mornings your laughter reached me across a crowded room, for the nights you steadied a household with quiet counsel, for the way you have taught me how to choose with my whole heart. I want to tell you that meeting you has become the axis of my days, that rooms where you are absent feel unfinished. I will tell you, with the soft courage of a man who has decided, that I choose this, you, again and again. And if the week comes and something shifts, if duty presses too hard, if schedules snap tight, I will not let disappointment harden into something cruel. I will be patient because longing taught me how to wait without losing myself. But I confess, the hope that we might fold an ordinary weekday into something sacred makes me more alive than any triumph in council. It is a simple, human hunger to sit across from you, to trade small stories and quiet plans, to let time slow enough for us to discover whatever next chapter needs gentleness to begin. So let us imagine it: a bench beneath a quiet window, tea that grows cold because conversation warms us more, the soft sound of pages being turned in a book you want to share, a hand finding mine with no announcement required. Maybe we meet this week, and if we do, I will hold that hour like a rare relic, polish it with tenderness, protect it with my steadiness, and let it be the anchor I return to when my days become noisy again. If we do not, I will keep the hope. Hope is a small rebellion in a palace that measures everything. Either way, the thought of you brightens my corridors, and that brightness is enough to keep me walking forward. I find myself restless these days, pacing the quiet halls of the palace, not from unease of duty or matters of state, but from a yearning that no crown, no victory, no counsel can soothe. My thoughts have begun to circle endlessly, orbiting around you with a gravity I cannot resist. Even in the midst of discussions with ministers, my mind drifts. I imagine your expression when you laugh, the curve of your lips, the way your eyes glow when you speak of something you believe in. I wonder if you know how deeply these small things carve themselves into me, how they echo louder than any decree shouted in a grand chamber. There is something dangerous, almost rebellious, in how much I want you in a world that is constantly watching me. For a prince, affection is rarely his own. It is arranged, calculated, dressed in silk and reason. Yet with you it is none of those things. It is raw, ungoverned, and entirely mine. That thought fills me with both fear and fire. Fear because I know the world will ask questions, will try to bind us with politics and judgment. Fire because despite knowing this, I want to walk straight into it if it means walking toward you. Sometimes I think about how our lives might look if we had no chains of expectation pulling us, if we could meet not in hidden corners, but in the open, without whispers trailing behind, if I could stand beside you not as a prince defending his choice, but as a man simply in love. I imagine mornings where your presence is the first thing I see and nights where silence doesn't feel empty because you are near. These thoughts may be daydreams, but they are stronger than the gold-plated reality that surrounds me. The weight of my position often presses down like stone, reminding me of responsibilities that stretch beyond my own heart. Yet the truth is simple. All the duty in the world feels hollow if it does not make room for you. I have begun to measure my decisions not in terms of power or politics, but in how close or far they bring me from you. The court speaks of alliances, of strategies, of futures drawn on maps, but my map leads to only one destination, and I do not care how much it confuses them. My compass has already chosen its true north. It is strange to admit, but you have made me softer and stronger all at once. Softer in how I view the world, noticing kindness where before I saw only calculation. Stronger in how I face it, willing now to endure criticism, whispers, even betrayal, if it means protecting what matters. Before you, my victories felt like trophies on a shelf. Now, even the smallest moments, a letter from you, a passing smile, feel like triumphs worth more than any crown. You have changed the measure of my life, and I am not ashamed to admit it. I think of what I will say when we are face to face again. Words often fail me when I plan them, but in your presence they pour like a river, unstoppable. I want to tell you how much steadier my days feel when you are near, how even silence shared with you feels like a language only we speak. I want to ask about your dreams, not the kind shaped by necessity, but the ones that live in the quietest parts of your heart. And if you trust me with them, I want to carry them with me like a vow, to guard them as fiercely as I guard my nation. Every prince is told that his life is not his own, that he belongs to history, to lineage, to the expectations of others. But I am beginning to believe that those who came before me were wrong. My life is mine to give, and I wish to give it to you. Not in fragments, not in moments stolen between duties, but wholly, without condition. Whether the world approves or not is irrelevant. For once in my life, I want something, someone, not because it is required, but because it is real. And in you, I have found what is real. I have spent nights sketching the shape of sacrifice in my mind, learning its contours, as if I must know how to carry it without breaking the one I love. Sacrifice is not only banners lowered or titles refused. It is the quiet accounting of small losses that add up until a life looks different from the one people expected. I am willing to lose the flattering applause of courtiers who count pedigree above personhood. I am willing to sit through my father's disappointment and answer every hard question he flings like a gauntlet. I am willing to be the one who takes the blunt edge of gossip, so that you might move through this place without the daily sting. Those are the things no poet writes about, the patient, unglamorous acts of protection, and yet they are the ones I promised to perform, because love for you is more work than thrill, and I will do the work. I picture the conversations that will come. The council chamber suddenly feels like the scene of 1,000 small battles. I will choose to fight for you. I will stand and speak of the merit I have seen in your quiet deeds, of the lives you touched without spectacle, and I will not let their questions reduce you to a rumor. I will explain how a kingdom led by compassion thrives, how strength tempered by tenderness endures, and I will name concrete ways you have improved things already. A healed servant here, a schoolgirl who now reads there, until the ledger of your worth is too full for scoffers to ignore. It will take patience, stubborn patience, to shift minds schooled in lineage and ledger, but I am ready for the long argument, because your dignity is worth that time. There will be nights when my father looks at me, and the silence between us sharpens into something like winter. I have seen that look before, the disappointment of a man who taught his son to measure life by certain old rules, and now watches the son redraw the map. I accept that I may need to endure his sternness, to bear the reprimands that come wrapped in counsel. But I will not bargain away my conscience. I will sit with him, explain my reasons, tell him about your kindness that steadied my temper, or your wisdom that solved a small problem he never noticed. I will treat him with respect and take his arguments seriously, but I will not let duty become an excuse to deny what is true in my heart. There will be practicalities to tend, houses to prepare that respect your privacy without turning you into a display, roles to craft that give your gifts real scope, guards who watch with respect rather than curiosity. I will use the instruments of my station not to hide you but to amplify your agency. I will create small offices, patronages for the causes you care about, and make sure that the people who serve us understand the boundaries of decency. Power handled well can be a shelter. I intend to make it one. The palace will learn slowly to take you seriously for the work you do, and the humanity you embody, not the gossip that once tried to define you.